rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The land is holy, and so are we. The land is holy, and so are we. The land is holy, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be.
All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad apparently you all could hear that. For some reason, I couldn't. So Zoom is being real fun today. And hopefully everything else goes smoothly. But if something is not working for you, simply message Zach, who is our Zoom host for today. So you can send him a message directly if you choose his name in the drop-down menu of the chat. And we'll be using the chat to chat and get to know each other and answer questions and stuff. So I am going to share my screen again so that we can do that and check in here. We try to answer this question every week. One, to get to know where we're coming from, so we can sort of have that visual map in our heads, which is really cool. So share where you are right now, and share on a scale of 1 to 10 how your week has been. It's a nice moment to check in with yourself, and share with others. Feel free to share why it's been that number, or feel free to just share the number. But go ahead and use the chat now to say hey. And as we do that, there's a few things that I want to make you aware of coming up. We finally get the last day of January, which always feels like the longest month. And that means that February is starting, and we just so have it that the new moon is on the first day of the month, which I love because February is the last lunar month that we have left. That's exactly 28 days. So February 1st, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, we will be meditating. It's the same link. Anything Church in the Wild does on Zoom is that same link that we send out every Wednesday. So if you didn't get the Wednesday email, if you're not getting weekly emails, Zach will be putting the link in the chat, and you can fill that out and join our weekly email list. So Tuesday we'll be meditating at 8 with Valerie. And then next Sunday is Sledding Sunday at Shenango Valley State Park. So generally we've been gathering at noon every Sunday at the Nature Preserve at BU, which is awesome. But next week we're going to be sledding. So get out to Shenango Valley. We'll be there at noon. You can follow the signs to the Sledding Hill parking and join us there. We'll have cocoa and lots of fun for however long you want to stay. If for some reason it rains a ton this week, then we may reschedule. So just check in before you head out on Sunday to make sure it's happening. And then you're hearing it here first, folks. We have set the date for our spring return to in-person worship at Sky Lake, March 20th, which is the first day of spring exactly. It falls on a Sunday, so very exciting that we can spring back to in-person worship together. So initially we thought we'll do Zoom for January and February. We decided to extend it just 2 more weeks. Hopefully we won't get any big snowstorms, but just in case we do, we'll miss having to drive out to Windsor for those. So spring return, mark your calendars, March 20th. We won't be on Zoom anymore for those of our lovely friends who are with us from afar, but there will still be the monthly meditations and other ways we can stay connected until next winter when we probably resume to Zoom worship then. So thanks everyone for checking in the chat. So great to see everybody. Yay, big things going on, babies and thesis. Awesome stuff, and seeing folks from all around, which is so cool. Welcome everyone. I'm Corey, leader, pastor of this wild little group here. And just another link for Zach to share. If you want to support what we're doing and you're into this stuff, you can do that with in so many ways, showing up, being a part of our circle, but also donations help us keep going and growing as we have just hit the 6-month mark of worship together. So we are still little saplings weathering our first winter together, and we're so appreciative of all the types of support that have kept us going this far. So thank you for being here and bringing your spirit to our virtual worship circle today. So we're going to get started with this time of worship now with our first reading from A Field Guide to the Haunted Forest by Jared K. Anderson, a poem entitled Holy. Let nature be your church. Let the trees be your temple. Let each nourishing breath be your sacred vow. Let the shared spark of life be your holy order. And if there is one prayer you can whisper into the ear of the world, let it be, thank you. And today, I believe, we're going to get some live music from Kristen. Are you ready?
Yeah, I realized I should have. I don't know if you have the lyrics or not, but people wanna do whatever they like to listen or whatever. That's totally fine. I think this is a familiar one for most of us. So, and we've done it before. So, if you'd like to join along. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise a mountain fixed upon a mount of thy redeeming love. Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I'm come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He to rescue me from danger interposed his precious blood. Oh, to grace how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness like a fetter bind my wandering heart to thee. O gee, bound to thy feelings, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above.
Thank you so much, Kristen.
Thank you.
All right, and our wisdom today, I will share my screen again. 1 second here. Likes to do crazy things. Our wisdom is coming from the Christian scriptures. A story of Jesus from the Gospel of Luke. The story goes that Jesus had just read from the scroll of Isaiah a prophecy that he claimed was about him. And that's what he did. He told them these words from the Hebrew scriptures were being fulfilled then and there in their hearing. At first, everyone was deeply impressed with the gracious words that poured from Jesus' lips. Everyone spoke well of him and was amazed that he could say these things. They said, "Wait, this is only the son of Joseph, right?" Jesus responded, "You're about to quote the old proverb to me, 'Doctor, heal yourself.' Then you're going to ask me to prove myself to you by doing the same miracles I did in Capernaum. But face the truth. Hometowns always reject their homegrown prophets. Think back to the prophet Elijah. There were many needy Jewish widows in his homeland, Israel, when a terrible famine persisted there for 3.5 years. Yet only the widow God sent Elijah to help was an outsider from Zarephath in Sidon. It was the same with the prophet Elisha. There were many Jewish lepers in his homeland, but the only one he healed, Naaman, was an outsider from Syria. The people in the synagogue became furious when he said these things. They seized Jesus, took him to the edge of town, and pushed him right to the edge of the cliff on which the city was built. They would have pushed him off and killed him, but he passed through the crowd and went on his way. Now let's hear from Rich for our nature connection moment.
Nature connection. Find yourself in the gift, the adversity, and the wonder of wild nature. The ice is really flowing in the Susquehanna rivers today on this frigid day in mid-January in the town of Athens, Pennsylvania. The huge chunks of ice have changed the conditions for the ducks that winter here. When the water's open, with no ice or debris, mallards can typically be found anywhere along the shoreline, and mergansers can usually be seen out in the more open water where it gets deep. As it is for you and me, so it is with our wild neighbors. We manage to survive by adapting to life's changing landscape. The big chunks of ice in this ice flow presents a hazard that our winged neighbors are wise to avoid. But like everyone else, these ducks gotta eat. And so the ducks of the Susquehanna River have adapted by moving to the south end of river islands, where the islands themselves have created a refuge by channeling the largest ice chunks away from its southern banks. Today, the south end of most river islands will yield some ducks. Let's check out this one by the Athens Water Treatment Plant. Here's a pair of common mergansers at the southwest tip of the island. The female is my favorite with her shaggy brown crest. Common mergansers are usually found away from the shoreline because they dive deep to catch their favorite food item, fish. I wonder if they're at least finding some minnows to eat in the shallow ice-free refuge today. Panning to the southeast edge of the same island, we can see a flock of about 20 mallards dabbling for aquatic vegetation, as well as some macroinvertebrates just out of reach of the passing ice flow. You might see mallards stick their heads underwater while feeding, but you won't see them diving into the river's depths for a full minute like the mergansers. These ducks of the Susquehanna are reminding me how important it is to hold loosely to my own daily habits and rhythms so I'm able to adapt to life's changing circumstances in my day-to-day living. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Nature.
Hey, Corey, I think we can't hear you. I think you need to.
Got it. It's great to have Rich be able to share even when he is not able to be right here with us. So now it's time for a message, which I haven't done in a little bit. We've been having our Fresh Perspective series and bringing in different people from all over, which has been wonderful. And I've had some time off, so of preaching, of giving the message. So I'm back to it. And we did have one last guest speaker who was planning to be here for today, but had to reschedule for February 13th. So Jay Sylvan, who is the playwright, author of a new and up and coming gay Bible musical, as they have pegged it, will be with us on February 13th, just in time for Valentine's Day, which I'm thrilled for. So we'll be hearing from Jay in a few weeks. But today, I wanted to first remind us that we strive as Church in the Wild, our core values. If you've been with us for any amount of time, you might have heard me list them. We strive to be spirit-led, inclusive, ecological, alternative, service-minded, margin-centered, communal supporters of Sky Lake. And I emphasize the communal, especially as we end this Fresh Perspective series, because I don't want you to think that now we aren't going to hear from other people ever again. If we really truly want to be a communal group, we need to keep hearing from you. So if you ever feel inspired to share a message or the nature connection moment, or to lead a meditation or sing a song, we need you to do those things. If the Spirit inspires, we need to hear what it's inspiring. So please reach out, let me know. Even if you just want to do one of the readings, you can absolutely do that. We would love to have a communal involvement in our worship time together, as well as everything we do, of course. But it certainly feel like the stars aligned. There's some divine intervention bringing us the message that we have for today, that hopefully I will convey appropriately. I have been preaching at a traditional church, the Centenary Shenango Street United Methodist Church in Binghamton, once a month now for like almost 6 months, I think. They don't have a pastor at the moment. And so I was scheduled to lead worship there this morning. And as I was preparing, I looked at the Lectionary, which is this old schedule for Bible verses that got set back in the 1800s. It's been revised a couple times. And it's a way for pastors and preachers to have a place to start with some from scripture to use each Sunday. It's like a 3-year cycle. So I was excited to see that this story that I read earlier, the story of Jesus, was up for today, because I love this story. And then when Jay had to reschedule their talk, I realized that there was a message for our church group in this story as well. And I love this story mostly for selfish reasons, because it helps me to fight my people-pleasing tendencies. When people get upset about something I say or do, my first instinct is to just dive into that anxiety spiral that no one will ever love me, everybody hates me, and everything is just done for. Obviously, I've been working on that for a while, so it's not ever quite that dramatic. But this story is something that helps remind me that, hey, Jesus was more than ready to piss people off. Maybe it upset him, I don't know, but he did it anyway. So I can handle it too, if it's, especially if it's for like a higher cause. And I remember going into my, trying to answer my call to spiritual leadership and starting the process of ordination, which is this many-year process in my tradition. And I filled out some early on questionnaire to describe some aspect of myself, and there were some options there, and I checked off radical. I was really excited to be able to say, yeah, I'm radical, just like Jesus. Little did I know that this would cause my assigned mentor to express major concerns about my suitability for ordination. It was just like this whole month-long mess where it was suddenly so clear to me the politics and brokenness of our bigger systems at play, finally like hitting home. But I never lost the passion and conviction that Jesus was a radical. And if you notice, what really turned his adoring fans into an angry mob, it was when he told them that he wasn't really there for them, that just like all the great Hebrew prophets of the past, they helped people that were outsiders. And he wasn't gonna, put on a show just for his hometown. So that's what really pissed them off. And I think there is some validation in that story for us and who we are as Church in the Wild. In our first month or two that we were worshiping together, remember those warm, sunny days out at Sky Lake? There were some people who came, wanted to check us out, and, it was clear that it just wasn't for them. That's okay, right? We knew we weren't going to be for everybody. There were a few people who kind of got upset and said, well, you guys didn't even talk about God ever, which I would have, had some conversation around that if I were able to. And then there were a whole bunch of these people who were double dippers. So people that went to a traditional church in the morning and started coming to Church in the Wild in the afternoon. And that was really exciting and validating. Like, okay, we're not complete heretics for at least for some. And a couple of those people asked with curiosity, so is this a Christian church? And to that, I didn't really know what to say. My first inclination was yes, and then we talked with the board about this together and sort of ended up with the ever biblical response of saying, well, come and see for yourself what you think. And then a couple months farther in, someone came for the first time and said to me afterward, my whole life I felt spiritually homeless, and this felt like coming home. And that's when we figured out what kind of church we were. We're a home for the spiritually homeless. There are hundreds of churches out there for people who fit into that more traditional expression of faith, which is fantastic. I think they are lucky to have such a broad spectrum of choices to choose from. But we exist for people who have never felt at home in a church or spiritual community, or haven't found that home here in our area. It's fantastic that we have our double dippers, the people who feel at home in both spaces. I think it's amazing, and it adds that richness to our community. But who we exist for is the people who feel spiritually homeless. So are we a Christian church? Now I would say we're a home for the spiritually homeless. Come and see. Yes, and for those of us who are double dippers, who do come from the Christian tradition, I would I would challenge us to think more broadly that this is following Jesus. We might not talk about him or use his name or read stories about him every week, but this was the kind of stuff he was doing. He was dodging angry mobs to reach the people on the outside and to help them find and feel at home. But now I'm excited because now when somebody asks, what kind of church are we? I might even show them this picture. Let me share my screen again. This picture taken by our friend Greg is at Sky Lake. You may recognize it. And he calls this photo sunset on the solstice. So this picture was taken as the sun was setting behind the lake just last month on the winter solstice. So significant for us in that way. I look at it and see breathtaking beauty of nature. But what I think makes this the perfect depiction of who we are as a community are the human-made objects that are added in there, especially in the foreground. The most obvious, of course, is the bench, inviting us to stop and gaze at this beautiful sight, to take in creation with all of our senses. But then, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse here, but right in the tree line, there is a human-made cross. It's actually pretty big if you've been there in person, but it's completely dwarfed by the incredible pine trees surrounding it. So right there in the tree line, you can hardly see it among the winter branches, is this ancient symbol that has held various meaning over the millennia. But of course, most recently, it's seen as a Christian symbol. And I love that it's there if you know it's there, you know, but otherwise it just blends in with the bigger picture of creation, bursting with thousands of other signs and symbols of God all around it. To me, that perfectly describes who we are as a community. Whatever your perspective is on God, whatever religion, spirituality, faith, church that you claim, your perspective is wanted here. We need all the truth, all the signs and symbols, all the stories about the divine. It's like with our powers combined, we are church in the wild. So I hope you will continue to feel at home with us and to feel free to share your perspective and to know it's okay if we all don't have the same one. And I hope that if we can feel that here, if we can feel at home and free, that'll help us feel more free in our other circles to know that, you know, there's a group of people who do get me. And so even if I seem a little weird to some other circles I am in, it's okay. I can share my perspective still. And I hope that together we might continue to grow so radically welcoming and inclusive that we too are dodging angry mobs. And when we do, we know we're following in the footsteps of that radical old Jesus guy. So now we have some meditating to do. And I believe Valerie is here to lead us in that. Take it away.
All right. So let's begin by finding a posture that we can hold comfortably for the next few minutes. Something that lets us be relaxed, but also alert. Upright, but not uptight. And once you've found this seat, I invite you to scan your body, not needing to change anything, but just checking in, starting with the crown of the head, the forehead, the area around the eyes, the jaw, the neck, your throat, your shoulders, your chest, your upper arms, your belly, your back, your lower arms, your upper legs, the knees, your hands, your lower legs, and your feet. Take notice of where your body is right now. I invite you now to rest your awareness on your natural breath. Follow your breath from beginning to end and see where the breath is most noticeable to you. When it first enters your mouth or nose, in your throat, or your chest. Maybe you feel it deep in your belly, or the release as you exhale. Wherever it's easiest to rest your attention on the breath, I invite you to do so now, watching its natural rhythm. You may find that your attention wanders as you try to rest it on the breath. Your mind may be very active, finding other things to pay attention to. Your body may be sending you signals, calling to your attention. Or you may be tired and finding your attention wavering, make a note of when your attention wanders, without judgment, and gently return your attention to the breath. Your mind has wandered, that's okay. Note it and bring your attention back to the breath. You can continue to rest your attention on the breath in a period of restful awareness, or I invite you to join me in a brief visualization and a question. I invite you to call to mind a memory where you felt at home in your body, or at home in your heart, or at home with your loved ones, or at home in your wider community. As best you can, I encourage you to bring to mind the sights and sounds, the smells and sensations of this memory of home. I invite you now to pose a question to yourself. It may help to pose this question as if you were consulting a friend you trust, with no expectation of a particular answer. Ask yourself, how can we extend that feeling of home with others? An answer may arise and come to you in words, or it may come to you in images or a feeling. or you may feel no clear answer at all. But take a moment to continue resting in the question, how can we extend this feeling of home with others? As we put this question aside, and if it feels right for you, I invite you to thank the Spirit that offered you any insight or that abided with you as you wrestled with this question and accompanied us in this time of meditation. Silently offer words of gratitude to that Spirit. And as we conclude our time of meditation, I invite you, bring your awareness back to the body, to any surrounding sounds, to the feeling of the space you're in. And whenever you're ready, you may slowly open your eyes.
Thank you, Valerie. And we want to take time to pause and say thank you to our Creator, to our world. So, oh, wrong slide. So I invite you to share in the chat, what are you particularly thankful for today? It's such a simple but profound practice to stop and consider that from time to time. And I always enjoy seeing and hearing other people's gratitudes because it reminds me of things in my own life that I'm grateful for. It was very cool to walk out on top of the water today at BU. So we share our gratitudes and give thanks for our earth, that it gives us everything we need. And I give thanks for this community that feels like home for so many who have felt homeless. And we know that as we share the resources available to us, the things that we have, we can do even more good in our world and to help other people feel a sense of home despite their circumstances. So for the month of February, we'll be holding a stamp drive as our service work. We aim to do one like solidarity day of service with a justice organization in the Southern Tier every month. But for the month of February, we wanted to take the whole month to do a stamp drive to support the Broome County Jail. So we can pick up an extra book of stamps at the grocery store or post office, and bring it to the Sunday Saunters at noon at BU, or next week we'll be sledding at Shenango Valley State Park. You can mail them in, or you can just Venmo Church in the Wild and put stamps in the memo, and we'll make sure to buy stamps with those funds. So a few ways to support this, but I know Chris is our connection. He's a chaplain there at the Broome County Jail and collects stamps all year long to use for Christmas cards at the end of the year for inmates to be able to send cards home. There are other ways I know that they're able to communicate and send mail to family and friends throughout the year, but at the end of the year, they need hundreds of stamps. So we want to help that out. And it's perfect because for the month of February, we're going to have a series I'm calling Love Letters. As it's the month of February, we'll be looking at letters and how they speak love to the world. I think we're mostly going to focus on letters from Black historical figures and get some fun history lessons in there too. So thanks for sharing all those thankfulness. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that again to hear the chickadee and the duck video. That's so fun. We also take some time at the end of our service here to set an intention for the week ahead. What is a word or phrase that you want to guide you in the week ahead? Think about that. Feel free to share it as good inspiration for the rest of us in the chat. And let it be a guide, a mantra, a reminder to you throughout the week. There's always some great suggestions. I'm going to try to, maybe I'll say warmth and try to cultivate that inside because I feel like I've just been cold all the time. But has anyone noticed it is still light out? So that's exciting. And it's coming. Daylight savings time. I'm counting down. Yeah, I'm definitely, that's my big Thanksgiving. The sun staying up longer and noticing it, being aware. Yeah, balance, sincerity, what a good one. Excitement, ooh, fun words. I'm amazed, Chris, 1,700, that's more than I remembered. So yeah, help us in the month of February get some stamps in. Whatever word or phrase you choose, I hope that you will live intentionally. And we're going to share our closing blessing. And then Kristen has a song that will play us out. And then if you can, stay and chat, unmute, and we can catch up and talk for a few minutes. So feel free to receive this blessing, join me in the hand motions and embody it, either one. Deep peace of flowing air to you, deep peace of running wave to you, deep peace of the shining stars to you, deep peace of the quiet earth to you, deep peace of the source of peace be with you.
All right, it's time for our last song for worship today. Again, if you have an instrument hanging around, whether that's a shaker, your knees, or an instrument that you like to play in the key of C, feel free to join us for our final song, Peace, Salam, Shalom.